All right. Hello, everyone listening. Today's deep dive, I think, is especially useful if you're prepping for the UPSC Mains.
Oh, yeah.
We're looking at the 1924 Belgaum session of the Indian National Congress.
Okay.
So this is a landmark moment,
Right.
and it's a favorite topic, it seems, for the exam. And you
Yes.
know what makes it even more special? It was the only time that Mahatma Gandhi himself held the position of Congress president.
It's really interesting to think about, especially the context. So it's 1924, just a couple of years after the non-cooperation movement had to be, well, halted because of the Chara incident.
Right, right.
And Gandhi's just come out of prison, where he was serving time for sedition.
For writing articles.
Yeah, for writing articles, that's right, that were seen as too critical of the British rule. So you can imagine there's this really charged atmosphere, a nation that's just like so eager for freedom, a leader returning to the fight. So the Belgaum session becomes this platform for him to kind of lay out his vision for the path ahead.
Okay, so it's not just another meeting, it's like a turning point.
Exactly.
But I think some people might need a reminder. What exactly led to this tension? Why was the non-cooperation movement suspended?
Well, the Chara incident in 1922 was it was a real setback. A group of protesters clashed with the police, and things got violent, and several policemen were killed. And this really shook Gandhi.
Yeah, nonviolence was so central to him.
Exactly, it was the foundation of his philosophy, and he saw the incident as a failure of the movement to really uphold this core principle, So he decided to suspend it, which you can imagine disappointed a lot of people within the Congress. But even with this setback, he still argued that the boycotts of institutions like courts and legislative councils, even though they weren't always perfectly executed, they'd really hit the prestige of British institutions hard.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he saw this as proof that nonviolence, even when it's not perfect, could still be a very powerful force.
So even though there was that setback, Gandhi still saw it as evidence that his philosophy could be effective. So how does this tie into the Belgaum session? What was his message at that moment?
Well, the Belgaum session gave Gandhi the perfect platform to reassert his vision and, really rally the nation. And he focused on several key themes: nonviolence, obviously, Hindu-Muslim unity, and of course, Swaraj, which means self-rule.
Right.
These weren't just these abstract ideals, though. He outlined specific steps towards self-governance.
Okay.
For example, shifting the final court of appeals from London to Delhi.
Right.
Which, symbolically, that's a powerful move towards reclaiming judicial authority. He also advocated for adopting Hindustani, so a blend of Hindi and Urdu as the official language, and that was aimed at bridging the gap between the two communities.
So he wasn't just talking about these ideals, he was getting into the how an independent India could actually function. This is really important stuff to understand. And this concept of Swaraj, it feels like it's more than just political independence, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Swaraj for Gandhi, it was multidimensional. It wasn't just about kicking the British out. It was about achieving self-reliance in every sphere, political, economic, even spiritual. He believed that true freedom came from within, from shedding our dependence on these outside forces, both material and ideological.
Okay.
And that's where his emphasis on khadi, the hand-spun and hand-woven cloth, comes in.
Right, khadi. It's like the fabric of the freedom movement. But it's more than just cloth, right? It's like this symbol of self-sufficiency, projecting British goods, embracing Indian craftsmanship. But wasn't it also a way to uplift rural communities, provide economic opportunities?
You're hitting a key point here. Gandhi saw khadi as a tool for economic and social upliftment. He believed that by encouraging people to spin and weave their own cloth, you could revitalize village industries, create employment, and empower especially rural communities. It was about striking at the root of British economic exploitation by becoming self-reliant.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. Gandhi's vision wasn't theoretical. It had these practical implications. By promoting khadi, he was tackling these issues like rural poverty, unemployment, even empowering women who were traditionally involved in spinning and weaving. But I'm guessing it wasn't all smooth sailing, right? Were there challenges in getting people to adopt khadi on a large scale?
Absolutely. Adopting khadi, it wasn't just about changing clothing habits. It was about challenging really deeply ingrained economic structures. People were so used to buying cheaper, mass-produced British cloth. So there were definitely challenges in convincing them to embrace khadi.
And we're back. Still diving deep into this Belgaum session. Yeah, before we left off, we were talking about Gandhi's vision for khadi.
Right, and all the challenges that came with getting people to actually wear it.
Exactly. It's not enough to just know that, Gandhi liked khadi. We need to understand why and how he actually got people on board.
Well, Gandhi, he was a master communicator and a strategist. He knew that for khadi to succeed, it had to be more than just cloth.
Right.
It had to become like a symbol
Oh.
of national pride, of resistance. So he launched all these campaigns, urged people to burn their foreign clothes, embrace khadi instead. He traveled all over the country, constantly spinning on his charkha.
Right, and he turned that into a symbol.
Exactly, of self-reliance. Just imagine the impact of that. A leader spinning his own cloth. It resonated with so many people. And he always emphasized the economic benefits, too.
In what way?
Well, he argued that khadi could revitalize village economies and, provide livelihoods for millions.
It's interesting how he used these both emotional and practical appeals. He wasn't just preaching, he was demonstrating.
He was really making a case for khadi on all these different levels.
For those of you studying for the UPSC, what were the actual outcomes? Did khadi actually take off?
The Belgaum session was a real turning point for the movement. It sparked the surge in, peasant consciousness, especially in Karnataka, where the session was actually held. People started forming weaving cooperatives, they were setting up spinning centers, and khadi production started to really increase.
Wow.
This was a direct result of the Belgaum session and its impact on the ground level.
So it wasn't just a top-down movement?
Not at all. It was people, embracing this idea of self-reliance.
Okay, so we're not just talking about khadi as a fabric. We're talking about its impact on rural communities, right? Its role in economic development, its connection to the freedom struggle.
Exactly.
So apart from the economic impact, what other key messages from Belgaum should people keep in mind?
Well, Gandhi's pronouncements on Hindu-Muslim unity and the removal of untouchability, these are absolutely essential.
Right.
Gandhi was totally adamant that achieving Swaraj was impossible without addressing these social evils, He believed that a nation divided within itself could never truly be free.
So he was linking political freedom with social reform, seeing them as two sides of the same coin.
Exactly.
This is a really holistic vision of Swaraj, not just political independence, but social justice and equality.
Right. Gandhi's vision was much broader than just political goals. He was aiming for, a total transformation of Indian society, a society that was free from all forms of oppression and inequality.
And the Belgaum session was this really powerful expression of his vision.
Absolutely.
So this deep dive is really highlighting how Gandhi's ideas were interconnected. We've got khadi as this symbol of self-reliance, linked to economic empowerment, rural development. We've got his emphasis on Hindu-Muslim unity, the removal of untouchability, which is essential for a truly free India. And it's all being discussed at this Belgaum session.
Exactly. It gives you such a comprehensive view of Gandhi's philosophy and its practical implications. It's not just about understanding what he said, but how he went about implementing his ideas.
Yeah.
The challenges he faced, the impact it had on different parts of society.
Yeah, for anyone who wants to really understand the freedom movement and Gandhi's role, this is fantastic. So stay tuned, because in part 3, we'll wrap up our deep dive with even more insights. Welcome back, everyone. We're in the final part of our deep dive into the 1924 Belgaum session.
Yeah.
And I think the insights we're about to uncover are going to be really valuable, especially if you're prepping for the UPSC. We've been exploring Gandhi's vision for Swaraj, his focus on khadi as this tool for economic and social change, and his commitment to Hindu-Muslim unity and getting rid of untouchability.
And, understanding all of these concepts in depth, not just superficially, that's what makes for those high-scoring answers in the UPSC mains.
Okay, so let's talk about another key theme from Belgaum. It's something that's often overlooked. Gandhi's call for every Indian to become a perfect satyagrahi. What did he even mean by that?
This is where Gandhi's philosophy gets really interesting. Satyagraha basically means truth force, and it's the foundation of his nonviolent resistance.
Okay.
It's not just passive resistance, though. It's about actively fighting injustice with the power of truth and love, even when you're facing oppression. So a satyagrahi is someone who embodies those principles. They're fearless, disciplined, and unwavering in their pursuit of truth.
So it's not just about avoiding violence. It's about actively resisting injustice, but with this moral force.
Yeah.
So how does that actually work? What did Gandhi expect from a, quote, perfect satyagrahi?
Well, he had a few principles for satyagrahis. First and foremost, a commitment to nonviolence, not just in your actions, but also in your thoughts and your speech.
Okay.
Second, a willingness to suffer for the cause, to endure hardship, but without turning to violence. Third, just like unwavering faith in the power of truth and love to win in the end. And finally, a deep sense of self-discipline and self-control, because satyagraha is as much about conquering yourself as it is about conquering outside forces.
It almost sounds like a spiritual practice, not just a political strategy. It's important to understand that Gandhi saw satyagraha as like a way of life, a philosophy that went beyond just politics.
Exactly. He believed that satyagraha could be used in any situation where there was injustice, whether it was fighting for political freedom or social equality or even just personal transformation.
So we've got satyagraha, khadi, Hindu-Muslim unity, social reform, all these ideas kind of interconnected, all coming out of the Belgaum session.
It's like a blueprint for his vision for India.
And remember, this was only 2 years after the setback of Chara.
Right. So the Belgaum session is also about resilience, about reaffirming his commitment to nonviolence
Yeah.
and charting a new course for the freedom movement.
Okay, so let's, as we're wrapping up this deep dive, let's get to the key takeaways.
Okay, well, first, the Belgaum session really shows Gandhi's multifaceted approach to Swaraj, political, economic, and social.
Mhm.
Second, it emphasizes the practical ways he used his ideas, like with Khadi and Satyagraha and the impact they had. And last, it really highlights his belief in the power of unity and the need to address social evils in order to achieve true freedom.
Great. So understanding these themes, connecting them to historical events, and analyzing how they're relevant in India today, that's what's going to make your answers stand out in the UPSC mains. And even if you're not prepping for exams, these insights into Gandhi's vision are important for, well, anyone who wants to build a more just world. So keep those brains engaged, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like this episode if you found it valuable. Until next time, keep diving deep.